This One's Wife, Dutch Endgame, pulled. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Victoria Ward, writing in The Telegraph, tells us Dutch version of Endgame pulled from shelves after royal racist is named. In UK version, Scobies says that the Duchess complained about two people who made comments about Archie's skin tone, but does not name them. The Dutch version of a new book has been pulled from the shelves after naming the senior royal at the heart of a racism scandal involving the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Endgame, by the improbably named plastic-faced Weasley lickspittle Omid Scobie, 42, describes how the Duchess sent a letter to her father-in-law, then Prince Charles, in which she expressed her concerns about unconscious bias in the royal family. That, of course, is a hoover by a narcissist by letter, which is seeking to assert control over Charles. As first revealed by The Telegraph, the letter was sent in the wake of the Sussex's March 2021 Oprah Winfrey interview, in which this one's wife alleged that a member of the royal family had speculated about the colour of her unborn son's skin. Now, in relation to these letters, King Charles has evidently not provided the material to Omid Scobie. That must mean that this one's wife has, once again demonstrating her lack of emotional empathy for those affected by her behaviour, an absence of boundary recognition, the necessity of behaving with a sense of entitlement, and of course utilising this correspondence for the purpose of smearing. In the UK version of his book, Scobie reveals that the Duchess complained about two people who had upset her by making comments about Prince Archie's skin tone, but stopped short of naming them, citing laws in the United Kingdom. However, the Dutch translation includes a critical detail that does not feature in any other edition. In those private letters, an identity was revealed and confirmed, it says, before naming one of the alleged culprits. The person responsible meant no ill will or bias, according to Scobie in the Dutch translation. The book quotes a royal insider who claims that person wanted to clarify that point, which was considered very important. Endgame, called Eindstrijd in the Netherlands, was published on Tuesday. Fabian Pargman, 47, whose Pargman bookstore has 5 outlets across the Netherlands, told The Telegraph, "We had just put the book on the shelves when we were contacted by the publisher, Zander, and told to remove it immediately. We were not given a reason why." The letter sent by the Duchess was sent in reply to one from the King, it is understood. He is believed to be the only senior member of the family to have made contact with her following the Oprah interview. The content of that interview, of course, will have threatened his need for control, prompting his narcissism to cause him to contact this one's wife to nullify the threat to control by doing so through a hoover, through a letter. The king is understood to have expressed sadness over the chasm that had emerged between the two sides of the royal family and expressed disappointment that the Duke and Duchess felt the need to make such high-profile and damaging allegations. In the interview, the Duchess told Winfrey that there had been concerns and conversations about how dark his, Archie's, skin might be when he's born. The Duke has since insisted that they had never accused the royal family of racism, which of course demonstrates how thick he is and the hypocritical nature of her, whereby she clearly did accuse the royal family of racism, but then has sought to recant from that. In an ITV interview broadcast in January, anchor Tom Bradby said, "In the Oprah interview you accused members of your family of racism." Harry responded, "No, I didn't," adding the British press said that. Come now, Harry, We know you're dim, but we know also that what was said was to label your family racist. Asked if he would not consider that essentially racist, he replied, "I wouldn't, not having lived within that family." Accordingly, Harry is saying his family isn't racist, even though they were, of course, accused of being racist. The comment was considered a potential olive branch from Harry to his family, and an apparent about turn after Buckingham Palace was engulfed in a race crisis in the wake of his claims. The issue was not addressed in the Sussex's Netflix documentary series released last December, or in the Duke's memoir Spare, amid claims that he agreed not to raise it publicly again. Well, of course, he might agree not to raise it again, but we know that this one's wife would do, because she operates with the conditional asterisk, which is, she can say something, but there's always an asterisk attached to it, which means that she can change her mind, that she can do the opposite, that she can backtrack from whatever it is that she does. Thus, she might say, "Oh, I will never mention anything about the allegation of racism again," and then 1 week later do so. That's because of her compartmentalization and operating in the moment. The Sussex's disclosure, continues the Telegraph, about the alleged incident caused shockwaves around the world and proved incredibly damaging to the monarchy, prompting the late Queen to issue her now infamous line that recollections may vary. The damaging allegation prompted an angry Prince William to publicly state, "We are not a racist family." Harry told Good Morning America on US network ABC, "It's not racism, but unconscious bias if not confronted," and we all know he's learned that from. If not acknowledged, if not learned and grown from, that can move into racism. And the way I understand it is that we all want to be part of the solution rather than part of the problem. Dutch publisher Zander Uitgevers said in a statement, Zander Uitgevers is temporarily withdrawing the book, Eindstrijd, by Omid Scobie from sale. An error occurred in the Dutch translation and is currently being rectified. Speaking to Dutch chat show RTL Boulevard on Tuesday, Scobie insisted he was not to blame for the error. Well, of course not. The book is in several languages, and unfortunately I do not speak Dutch, but if there are translation errors, I'm sure the publishers will have it under control, he said. Utter bollocks. I don't believe you for a moment, you little snide shit. Quite simply this. It's a person's name. It doesn't require a translation. And therefore you have deliberately, as a consequence of the instructions that will have come from your handler and mistress, included the king's name as part of this orchestrated smear that is being conducted against the royal family through this utter piece of twaddle that is supposedly a book. He carried on whining by saying, "I wrote and edited the English version. There's never been no version that I've produced that has names in it." Bullshit. Do you really think the translator has suddenly thought, "Do you know what? I'll just throw King Charles's name in there, even though it's not mentioned"? Of course not. The translator will have impeccable English. Most Dutch people, like the Scandinavians, speak excellent English, and to suggest amongst a professional translator as well that there's somehow an error in translation is simply trying to cover up what is evidently a deliberate act of smearing. I'm not buying it, and neither are many other people, Scobie, so you can fuck that sky high. An attempt to smear, once again seeking to cause damage against the royal family by naming Charles, and this article provides you with greater context for it all and demonstrates the further attempts of this one's wife to assert control over the royal family. Because after all, even though she says she doesn't want to have anything to do with them and that she's carving out a new life, we all know she's a huge hypocrite and therefore cannot help but continue to throw brickbats at the royal family because her narcissism drives her to do so in pursuit of the prime aims. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.